Hey guys, this is TheEnder, and this is going to be set 1 for our match between C and Killer in the round of 4. That is the semifinals of the BCTV Star League Season 1. So, here we are spawning in the upper right position, our red Zerg, Killer. And in the bottom left position, our yellow Terran, we are going to have C. So, format is, same as before, best of 5. Winner goes to the finals, has a chance of winning, I think it was something like, was it $3,000 or 3,000 won? Maybe it was $3,000. But of course, yes, you want to win the tournament. And you got into the semifinals, so both these players are doing quite well. Of course, Killer being the protege of Jaedong back in the Brood War days, and C being the ace player for MBC game. So our map for game number 1 is going to be Fighting Spirit. And, so yeah, go team. Speaking of teams, these two players were actually on a team together in the last, what do I call it, season of the, the golden age of Brood War. They were on Team 8 together. So essentially it got to the point where, the Brood War Pro League wasn't gaining as much popularity. They were phasing it out to replace it with StarCraft 2 entirely. So some of the teams like MBC Game and Hwasong Oz, the teams had to disband. And there's one other one, but it wasn't as important of a team. Haha, just kidding. Looks like a 14cc from C here and a 12 hatch from Killer. But yeah, so like the 3 or so teams at the bottom of the rankings, they all like merged, and they never found a sponsor. So the entire time they were just waiting for a sponsor, and so they were just called like the ominous Team 8. But the idea was, people were saying, hey, this could really be the dream team, because if you take the best 2 or 3 players off of all these Kespa teams, and you put them on one team together, they should be really good. I mean, they had Jaedong, they had Killer, they had C, they had a couple other, really strong players, but, it just never worked out. I guess the players, I don't know if people were going to say things like, they weren't practicing as hard because they didn't know if they were going to be able to play because they didn't have a sponsor or what. One way or another, they did have some very good players, but they didn't quite come up to the the level of success that you would have hoped. So it looks like on the other side, Killer might have gone for 3 hatch before pool. Can't see his base very well. I'd like to see the timing on the 3rd base. Okay, no, it wasn't 3 hatch before pool. It was a fast 3 hatch from Killer, but he did make the pool after his 12 hatch. So that in-base 14cc is going to give C a pretty nice economic boost. But at the same time, Killer's not, super far out of it just on a macro basis. And, so yeah. Building up. Going back to a more standard game. So I've heard it said before from some of the some of the better casters and the analyzers that both Brood War, well, not so much StarCraft 2, but mainly Brood War, no matter how crazy your early game starts, you're pretty much always going to get to a standard mid-game eventually. Maybe it's at the 20-minute mark, maybe it's at the 5-minute mark. It's a pretty cool theory. Sooner or later, everyone goes back home from their cheeses and, goes back into normal play. It's all just a matter of timing. But yeah, so no cheese, just economic play, build up, make for a better mid-game with larger armies than usual. Good. Oh no, that SCV making it in. That's a huge tell. It would have been nice if those Zerglings could prevent it. Well, looks like we've got some Marines going across the map. Only 4 Marines, no medics, no stim, so they probably can't do too much. There are 4 lings, so maybe he has to wait for a few more lings, maybe he'll pull some drones. Okay, yeah. So those Marines are going to have to retreat. Well, I said retreat, but yeah, they're not going to make it, so the free kills. Looks like 3 Zerglings went down compared to 4 Marines, so that's a pretty nice early game pickup from Killer. Lair has finished. Zergling speed on the way. Spire should have gone down by now. We haven't seen it quite yet. And C is going for a pretty reasonably standard 2 racks opening. The +1 attack for infantry is on the way, reasonably early. And there, speed is finished for the Zerglings. They're going to chase down that SCV and deny the scout. I thought they were. Guess not. Come on, they're speedlings. They're supposed to be able to catch SCVs. Alright, they caught him. Alright, we still haven't seen it. Alright, there it is. There's the Spire. Halfway done. Engineering bay is already done, so missile turrets can be in plenty of time. Academy is done, and we see medics out, and comsats on the way. So C has actually gotten a really, really nice economic opening here. I mean, he went for the 14cc, he completely skipped the bunker at the front of his natural that Terrans are usually forced into. You know, he's got his medics in plenty of good time, he had that fast +1 attack. And now he's transitioning into a 4 racks build. Looks like Stim's going to be done before the mutas even get there. So all in all, it looks like a very nice build order for C. His timings are working out quite nice. And Killer's already started up his evolution chamber. Mutas are on the way. I mean, of course, as a Zerg player going against Medic Marine, it's always nice to have that +1 armor, whether it's in the air or on the ground. It doesn't look like it's going to be a heavy Mutalist play, and that's generally that you don't see mass Mutalist play, because they just don't scale cost-effectively into the mid and late game as well. But yeah, that +1 Carapace is going to do really good for the Zerglings, because of course Zerglings, they have such great attack speed that really all you need to do to increase their attack is to allow them to survive long enough to close the distance with the Marines and to get a few attacks off, because they've got just such high DPS. So of course, like I said, the Zergling speed and Carapace are very important. So nice pickoffs from Killer. He got the missile turret that was too close to the ledge. He picked off a few SCVs. And he can pick up another SCV if he wants. And he's looking. He's going to do it. Alright, and he stops that extra turret from going up. So, of course, when the mutas are over the cliff like that, the Marines cannot see them. Ooh, 6 Sunkens. Ha! He's going to skip lurkers. Nice. Alright, we have a full complement of 11 Mutalists. That's what you want to see when you're microing your Mutalists. So yes, that Medic Marine group, they're looking for the 3rd base of Killer. Actually, it doesn't exist. He used the extra minerals to just make some Sunkens, and he's teching straight to Hive. So, Hive plus a fast +1 Carapace is going to put him in a pretty cool late-game position. Yes, he is down on bases, sorta, because as a Zerg you want to be ahead of bases, ahead of your opponent. But if you have good enough upgrades in Hive tech, you can fight very cost-effectively versus Medic Marine. Usually Terrans are practically forced to go for to mech to combat that Hive tech composition. So, alright, +1 weapons finished a while ago, +1 armor is going for the Marines, science facility on the way. SCV count at the natural looks pretty bad for C there. And the Hive is halfway done for Killer. So, this is not a standard game. I believe this build order by sale has been referred to as Crazy Zerg, in that you skip lurkers completely, get a fast Carapace, and go straight to Hive and Ultralists. But really, I mean, 6 sunken colonies like that in the front, that's going to be really hard to break with pure Marine. I mean, that is a lot of Marines, and maybe he can do it. But if there's Zerglings or Mutas coming in from behind, they could get a really nice sandwich on those Marines. Alright, he's going for it. He's going for it. I think he's going to pull back. It just doesn't look like it's going to happen. Well, alright, first Sunken goes down. And it looks like all the Sunkens are just barely fighting. Alright, so yeah. The Marines get thinned out, there's not enough left, and the Zerglings and Mutas come in from behind and clean it all up. So, It was a pretty darn... I don't want to say it was a good defense by Killer since he didn't really do too much. But that attack from C was a little bit too blunt. And he really didn't get the good trade he wanted to. That really put Killer in a nice position. He's now with the army from C whittled down so much. That third base is definitely going to get up. And Hive Tech is going to finish. So science vessels are out, so the Muta's got to be a little bit more careful. As you can see, there are several damaged ones. But man, that SCV count for C is just so low in the natural. Alright, he's got too many in the main, but yeah. Alright, so the Hive should be done by now, so we should be seeing a Nidus pretty soon. There you have the chitinous plating coming up for the Ultralisk. And I would bet +2, yep, +2 ground carapace is going, as well as +1 melee. Oh no, split the Mutas, split the Mutas, split the Mutas. So he didn't really split, but man, they're all super damaged. Alright, so there was about, what, 10 left? And now he's down to 7. Uh-oh. Alright, Nidus just barely finishes. Nidus finishes, drones transfer through, and Marines kill the drones as they pop. That sucks. And those Mutas, I don't think those Mutas engage. Yeah, they're just so weak. Yeah, all the Mutas are down to like 30 HP each. So unfortunately, the Nidus finished, the base finished, drones were transferred, and yet C gets to pick it off for practically no losses. That was a huge, huge win for C picking off that base. I mean, the Nidus by itself is like 250 minerals, and another 350 for the hatchery, and I'm including the drone cost in that. And then several drones went down. But that being said, Killer does still have Hive Tech. I haven't seen Defilers. Maybe he just doesn't have the gas since he's only on 2 bases and he's getting a ton of upgrades. But yeah, I mean, with a good composition, say 3 Ultralisks and 24 Lings, you can wreck just an incredible amount of Medic Marine. So Ultralisks have +1, not +1. They have like 1 standard armor, and with that chitinous plating, which gives them +2, they just absorb so many Marine shots before dying. I mean, they literally just don't die to Marines unless the Marines are like super upgraded, and they're not. So yeah, let's see if the Ultras can turn the tide. But like I said, even though the Ultras are really good at tanking, and as you can see, like no Ultras went down there. Like one of them took some damage, but that's it. You really don't use the Ultras for your damage dealing potential. They're just the tanks. Zerglings have literally like 4 times the DPS per supply of Ultras, especially once they get that the adrenal gland. But that being said, of course, he really, really needs a 3rd base. Alright, the Ultras count is getting scary, but so is the vessel count. The Mutas are still alive, even though they don't have much health. They have been regenerating, so maybe they're doing better. It looks like Killer's actually just trying to posture, trying to trap C's army in that 12 o'clock position. I mean, since it's on the high ground, he can't really run up the ramp too effectively. Alright, but here it is. The army's going to run into the Ultralisks. Cast some Irradiates. So Irradiates don't actually kill Ultralisks by themselves, but it's a nice way to start. And of course there is also the funny part where irradiated Ultralisks will actually do damage to Marines if... Oh, okay, isn't that good? So, so 2 of the Ultralisks got irradiated, and they took out the entire dozen Marines, and no Ultralisk casualties. That's how good they are. The vessels, or at least one of the vessels, did go down, but it looks like there's 4 more back at C's base. C needs to start up his +3 ground armor. I mean, he doesn't have to, but it's always nice to have if you can. So there we see 2-2 on the Bio, 2-1 on the Zerglings. Ultralisks have chitinous plating, maybe speed. Still no defilers. Alright, now if he could catch these vessels, that would be huge. Alright, one vessel goes down, 2 vessels go down, 3 vessels go down, and the last vessel takes a hit from 1 Scourge. Looks like 2 of the Ultras are going to go down to Irradiates, and another one's going to be badly damaged. Alright, so there it is, there's the 3 armor. Based on the timing, it's probably going to be about the same time as the Marines. Oh, you need to move those mutas. They were sitting on top of a irradiated Ultralus. I mean, that looks like such a lot of Marines, but I don't know. Where are all the Ultralus? I think I've only seen like 2 that were possibly going to die, and there were 7 before. Oh, not again. So the bottom right base is going to be cleaned up again by C. He's doing a really good job keeping Killer on a very small number of bases. I mean, normally at this time in the game, since the Hive Tech's been out for a while, Zergs would just have, you know, like 2 workers at the top of a ramp and a Dark Swarm, and no amount of Marines would be able to break it. And even, you know, an Ultralisk at the top of a ramp, or 2 Lings at the top of a ramp with a Dark Swarm would do pretty good. But, man, there's so many vessels. 2 more vessels go down, but they've casted 3 Irradiates. Looks like Killer's actually put the irradiated Ultralisk on hold position so that they don't do splash damage to his army. Actually, now that those 2 irradiated Ultras, they should really be attacking the Marines right now, because then they do the irradiate damage on the Marines. Oh, but it's a flank. Killer's coming in from both sides. He's at the top of the ramp and the bottom of the ramp. Here he comes. Surprise! Here's Johnny. Here's Killer. Mutas all get taken down, and CGG's. Yeah, that was actually a really nice engagement. I mean, Ultras from the top of the ramp and coming from behind. And so Killer's going to take that one on a crazy 2-base Zerg 20-minute game. So I'll see you guys in game number